So, you want to go first, Hart? Age before beauty and all that.
I mean, I've expressed most of mine. There is a concern at this point regarding the fact that Pred's charge was to do with misusing county funds. That reinstating his access and position as mayor might lead to a further misuse of it. I don't know all of the details.
Can you define misuse?
Hold on, please. The lady is talking. Animal.
Thank you. Sir. I don't know all of the details of the case. When I say misuse, to be clear here, that is merely violating a court order in which we're ordered not to use it. I don't know what it was for.
Doesn't mean I misused it. It just means
Did I tell you to be quiet, sir?
Sorry.
I believe that.
Listen to Dad, Pred.
I believe that is misused, but I'm stating here that I do not know whether it was for a legitimate purpose or an illegitimate one.
It's totally fine and understandable. Questioning things is a very good thing to do, but that is also why the due process in that circumstance would be valuable as well. Did you have a point too, sir?
Yeah, so my opinion was similar, but a different outcome. It was more so to, instead of like just continuing with what we did, basically, is to keep the same stance of we don't agree with what he did, and we do believe he violated legislation. However, we give him his keys back, suspend him from using county funds, same as before, while he faces an impeachment trial.
And
so he would be the mayor and just not be able to access funds besides his treasurer.
Is there the possibility in which you could confirm a sort of date in which a trial would happen?
Impeachments usually happen within 72 hours.
Could probably be
the trial itself?
Yeah, the trial. We usually try to get those and audits done like as soon as possible.
I would personally have thrown my vote towards he is still removed until the trial, but I think we all agree that should occur. And I'm happy to be outvoted. That is not an issue.
Can we make the judges leave the room so we can have a discussion about this? Because I don't understand how this is still your opinion despite all the facts that I presented to you. It's kind of like, I just feel like at this point you're just wasting my time like you've been wasting my fucking term.
It's fine.
I still want you to get the chance to defend yourself.
You didn't want me to get the chance when you removed my keys. You didn't want me to get the chance when you told me I wasn't awarded due process. You didn't want me to get a chance when you didn't let me speak and didn't let me give you my information.
We're going to get nowhere if we argue here instead of in a courtroom. It's going to go nowhere. Mr. Mayor and Miss Medical Authority, what do you believe would be a good result for the situation in which we're in?
You know what, Dr. Nye, you go first.
I agree that I think his keys should be returned and he should have had due process of an impeachment trial. I think that's how it should have been done to begin with. So that's how I think it should be done.
And you, Mr. Mayor?
Impeachment is everyone's right. That his keys should come back. If you want to do impeachment, you absolutely should. Discussion of whether or not his funds should be blocked, I think, is something that needs to be decided by a higher court at this point, because I think there's no more impartiality on that decision, and that would be needed to be done via a writ, not via a part of impeachment. That would need to be a request as a part of the impeachment proceeding in which the request is made. So impeachment, sure. Everything else, that should come through the normal due process. So if you guys want to do that, you can,
than us? The governor
should be.
Yeah, of course.
There is the possibilities of something being distinguished, sure. But I would prefer for there to be a conversation in which I can understand the facts in which you perceive them, and then come to a conclusion if be so. I still see a lot of issues with other possible impeachments. For instance, if somebody was to file an impeachment on you two at the moment, would you be expected to immediately stand down?
As far as my understanding, no.
This is what I've been saying!
Why is it you would perceive others to be removed immediately? If they're an authority, by the way.
Blaine County legislation states that.
It does not say immediate, actually.
That's fair, but as we stated, we considered it to be our responsibility to interpret the law as well, and considered removed to be immediate. Once again, I'm happy to. I'm happy to take this to an impeachment hearing instead.
Sure. Well, I believe there is, like I said, total understanding on both sides. While there is a reading in which way it can be interpreted like that, I totally understand, and I believe that that isn't unjustified to think in that way. But like I've said, I think the judicial proceeding, and I believe all of us can at least agree that a court case or some sort of case or hearing would be the most logical outcome for something like this.
Yes,
Unless, of course, we could confirm that it was against the Constitution. For instance, if he was, taking bombs into buildings or something that had severely crossed the constitutional lines.
Haven't done that for a long time.
Sure.
So proud.
In saying that, I don't know the intricacies or the ins and outs of the case in itself in you embezzling funds or whatever had been there, how it was thrown, how it was questioned. But I believe a suspension is fine. Not for me in not knowing what has happened. So if the judicial team is fine with the suspension until the hearing, I believe that would be best, rather than looking at just allowing him to do mayor jobs without the keys or the money or whatever. I believe it's just creating a bigger issue than it needs to be, as long as this can be done within a period that is relatively fast. So the question is, how do we come to a conclusion in a situation like this? We have legislation that is interpreted one way, and if we are to read it, how it is interpreted and only enforce that law, which has happened for him to be removed. But we have other laws and constitutions that could also dirty that said legislation, as well as the documentation in which he had forwarded on the government website, which clearly also should have been passed. There's a lot of little things that make the discussion need to be more than just did he cross the threshold? Because I believe there's the question, is that piece of legislation fit to be enforced? And was it fit to be enforced at that point? As well as the interpretations. So I'm not sure how we could do it.
It's a difficult one, so we might have to audit first, but I'm assuming that would take longer, and we don't want Pred to be suspended any longer than necessary.
Well,
what would the audit be exactly? So what this would be, in my opinion, is the legislative piece legitimate? Should it be there, and should it have been enforced? That's not to say you enforcing it was incorrect, or whoever had enforced it was incorrect, as it is there. But the question is, should it be there, and should it have been removed beforehand?